Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Yo, hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a Abzan Maverick build. This is very similar to the build that Achilles has been working on, which I believe he's been doing pretty well in challenges with and other, bigger events than leagues, which is great to see. But I wanted to try out some new cards, just because in this sort of build, I have been feeling a little bit naked against removal, especially on key things like Marillage, Gaddock Teeg or Thalia in a Gaddock Teeg or Thalia matchup. And so I think Safekeeper as a one-of is just a really nice way to have a Mother of Runes effect in the deck, while also being triggerable through Green Sun Zenith. And in a build with 25 lands and Flagstones, I'm definitely happy to have the Safekeeper in it. The one card that Safekeeper doesn't help against is Dress Down, but there's hardly any cards that help against Dress Down. So I'm not too unhappy with that. So we'll see how that go. Hey Jack, that set isn't out till next week, I believe. But Nadu's pretty sweet. It'd be cool to see how many different decks come online that do play it. But yeah, I went for another Dismember Doorkeeper Thrall in the sideboard. I've been playing against more D&T in leagues, and so wanted some extra removal for those that aren't Path to Exile, because giving D&T an early land is pretty rough. That deck obviously does pretty well in the mid to late game compared to us in terms of value and just the engine that they have through their creatures. So yeah, I like it. Dismember obviously hits Magus of the Moon as well, which is pretty big. Just 2 Reclaimers, so we'll see how that goes. I know that a lot of builds do run the full 4, but it's hard to not build towards just being green-white depths when you do start adding in depths. But I do like that Reclaimer is a one-drop that doesn't die to Bowmaster, which is pretty cool. And then with Flagstones, it just gives you a turn 2 play if you don't actually have one in hand, which is pretty sweet. Teeg and Ouphe in the main deck as well just gives you that little bit more against combo, which is nice. I know that Achilles has been on Thalia a lot more than Bowmaster recently, which is really interesting to see. But I feel like he's just running into matchups where Thalia is actually quite good. Probably blue-based decks that don't have something like Bowmaster. It's just an easy out to Thalia. So yeah, that's about it. Pretty keen to go through a league. Been really happy with the one Surveil land in Lush Portico. What are we doing? We're playing Legacy League, Abzan, play points, nice. Very cool. MH3. I think it'll not do as much as the previous Modern Horizons sets. I hope it makes some of the strategies a little bit stronger that have been falling behind to catch up to those that are kind of tier 1 right now. There's a few cool cards everywhere, like the Vexing Bauble. Obviously, Nadu will get a lot of play early on to see where it kind of fits and what sort of shell is right with that. I don't think there's anything too broken, which is great. I think from a play perspective, I really like that. I don't think there's anything that stands out as breaking the format or, shooting anything up to tier 0, which is great. I think there's a lot of cards that people have to try out and test with, so that'd be cool. Hey, Loam boy, very cool to hear. I was going to play Loam this morning, but I do have some plans around lunchtime, so I didn't have time to go to time every round, which isn't a reflection of the deck. It's more so just obviously someone who comes back to a deck like Loam, got to take your time. Funnily enough, not so much with the spells, but more with the mana base and just figuring out what you need to fetch for each turn, the turn after. But that is very cool to hear. What color? What colors are you playing in full color? I assume it's probably no red or no blue. Hey Ben, welcome. Full color red and full color blue. Nice. Okay, that's cool. Interesting. Yeah, the black Goif looks really good. I know that some players were playing it around in like a blue-black shell, obviously like a scam deck, because it does work with Entomb, which is kind of cool. Even if you don't have a reanimate effect. Punishing Fire? Nice. That's very cool to hear. Very cool to hear you're back playing Loam. I feel like all is right with the world when that happens. Hey Ben, what's up? Respectfully. But yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back. I've teed up Tony for a post stream, which would be cool. I know there's a few new toys for post, which is great. So hopefully for a Sunday morning, Saturday evening for them. Because right now for you as well, it's Saturday evening, correct? Nice, man. We're here to support you. You've always got us. Saturday Eve. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. 5 p.m. is pretty perfect. 5 p.m., 10 a.m. I'm actually going to write that down. With a pen that works. But yeah, Jack, what else? What else do you like from the set? The Black Goif seems sweet. Which is pretty much a 1-mana Goif for your graveyard, correct? And I believe it also has Unearth. Alright. I did just reinstall MTGO, so let's fix this up across. I would love to play first. We don't need animations. And that's it. It wouldn't be a league without a one-lander. And here we are. Pretty happy to mulligan this. Look, not great, but one subtle thing here is that we can play the Ouphe, and if it's not relevant, most likely against a creature deck, we can just grist it away, which is sweet. I think we're keeping this and just putting back the Bog. There are some times where just a sorcery speed Bog is good enough against the decks that you want it against, but I kind of like going probably Verdant into Lush, have a look, and then just having the 3 lands for our 3 spells. Extra Cloud, welcome. Hope you're well. Thank you very much for organizing yesterday with the MH3 pre-event. Had a lot of fun. I didn't get as much time online as I wished I did, but that is more so on my end. Could have easily gotten up earlier. All right. Go for Lush. I think if I saw a Mana Dork, I'd be pretty happy to keep it. Another land is nice. So putting it in the bin makes it a 4/4 as well. To be fair, we already have 3 lands. And if our opponent was really aggressive on Wastelanded us, I think we have time to draw into the extra one, so... It also just makes a land off the top a lot nicer as well, because obviously I don't want to draw an extra one. So here we have some options. I kind of like just playing out the Noble, but there's also a world where it's like, hey, if they are a combo deck, maybe Ouphe is like buying me the turn to survive. Also really interesting to see Achilles' latest lists don't run a Scrubland and don't run a Plains. A lot of their hits off fetch lands are all green spells. Or green mana sources. Basic Forest. Okay. Probably looking at some sort of BANT / 4-color deck. So getting this Grist down would be pretty sweet. I should also remember which stops to have on. Pretty happy just to attack first. I don't think I even need a begin combat stop. Karakas in the bin. Back to basics would be a little bit rough. This could just be Prismatic Ending, taking out the Grist, which is fair. Another Wasteland isn't a great draw. What do I really care about here? Just in case of like a sweeper effect, I don't mind just going Noble Pass. At least if they have Supreme Verdict, they have to get a dual land here. Murktide, okay. Typically, the sweepers that I see are some number of Terminus, some number of Supreme Verdict, but potentially the versions with Murktide are just a little bit different, and obviously don't play that. Another Noble is actually pretty funny because it means we get to swing in with the Collector Ouphe for Exalted. There are some pretty cool MH3 cards for Legacy for sure. I think the big ones, there's kind of one of each color. I'm trying to think of a good red one. But that's a tricky one. Red. What did red get? I'm not sure if MH3 does anything for Eldrazi. Okay. This is where I wouldn't mind having a Questing Beast in the deck. Wow, they're going to attack. Interesting. So we get to take out the Teferi here. Wasteland them. I do care about the Teferi somewhat. It's just really annoying. The new 3-mana Eldrazi is pretty sweet. I played with that yesterday in a Depths deck. The issue is that it relies on Depths, which means you don't have too much of an out. In terms of, like, if your opponent takes out Depths, they take out pretty much everything. Should have thought about this a little bit more with the Murktide growing. It does change the clock as well. Triumph is pretty good. That was set up with the Brainstorm. Hey Achilles, good to see you. I have some questions. and this is more so because I haven't played Abzan probably as much as you have. You've moved towards more Thalias, and even Harry has also moved just down to the one Bowmaster. Do you just like Bowmaster as a Fiend Artisan target? Do you think he doesn't really need more of those? And then also like Scrubland and Plains, do you just really like having green sources in sort of all your fetchables? Do you think it's sometimes awkward to have like a Scrubland Wasteland opening or like a Plains Scrubland hand? Wonder if this is just to play another Murktide and grow it. Nutty was cool. Hey, Joe. We didn't get to see it as much as we probably liked. But one thing I didn't realize with Shuko is that it's 2 times a turn, but for each creature. Ah, you're on a 3rd Sav. Okay. Nice. Let's make this bigger. Okay. I like the chokes. I don't mind the Thought Seizers either, especially on the play. The Forces are definitely interesting, but they are just BANT. They are potentially a back to basics deck. This could even I still think this is a decent deck for matchup for depths. There we go. That's why I was wondering where the flex was, and it's no fiends, and that that makes a lot of sense. It could just be a knight, honestly. Knight's fine, but against a deck with so many basics, the ability not to just wasteland them out is pretty brutal. We do get to Surveil, but the choke's not going to be great either because our opponent's most likely going to be going for basics early on, knowing we're on a wasteland deck, and so their basics are probably going to be like island, plains, maybe another island, but probably like the forest that we saw, so pretty happy to mull this. Yeah, okay. Keep this, bottom the Karakas. Leave us with decent mana and stage. Interesting. I kind of like Reclaimer just because it's a 1-drop. I'm also just going to quickly run to the bathroom. We can 6. Okay. So here we can put the Fiend on the field, or we can just play the Lush. I don't mind just getting the Fiend into play. Rally is kind of cool, but it doesn't do a whole lot right now. We can get Dryad Arbor off the land and then go and get another Reclaimer, which is kind of cool. Hey Lackey, very cool to see you. Hope you enjoyed yesterday. What did you play in some of the MH3 leagues? And if you played Goblins, was there anything cool that you played in Goblins? I don't mind going for Dryad Arbor here and then trying to get a Reclaimer. Just have 2 threats. I feel like this deck sometimes plays Stifle, which is a little bit rough, but maybe they wouldn't have held it up knowing that we didn't have too many options. I like that both of these kill a Teferi. Flute's very cool. I think the only land I'd like to see here is Bog. Green Suns. I don't have a way of triggering Rallier. Both Reclaimers are gone. I think it's Murktide that I'm really scared of, so I don't mind going for Teeg here. Just to keep... Okay. I was going to say to keep Force off the table for a Swords. Okay. Cage isn't too bad. We want that on top. And then it's just going to be Noble. They have 2 cards left. It's probably going to be a sorcery speed. Endurance if we get the chance to. That's pretty big. Okay. So let's go ahead and cast Endurance. Force. That's fair, yeah, upkeep's another thing. I just didn't know if I had to play around anything with not attacking, but I assume not, because like Spell Pierce is just non-creatures. Yeah, definitely tough. Like the Swords Prismatic Ending decks are already pretty hard to beat, but even like with like game 2 here, like mana base very open to Wasteland, but you just got to draw like the right half. I think we're just passing with Swords open here. It's tough because it's when they cast or when it... Yes. So you can't like Swords of Murktide with the trigger on the stack, so they don't draw like Force or the blue card. Hey, High Star, welcome. Interesting. Not attacking because of endurance. Maybe they thought like we... I think if we had endurance, we would have stopped the Lauren revealed, seeing they're going to be drawing a pretty nice amount of cards off that. So I think what we want to do here is just get a second white source. Try to swords this, and then untap, try to find a wasteland, and then be able to double wasteland them. It's like Once Upon a Time would do it as well. Night. A little bit too slow. Yeah, Beans is tough. Especially seeing it as it replaces itself straight away. Now they just have a draw 4. Okay. We can take them off white here. Flagstones. So it's a case of potentially even just holding up depths. Like if we take them off white... That's if the Rallier resolves as well. But I feel pretty naked just going for Dark Depths while they have 5 cards. Yeah. I don't mind Wasteland here. We do have a Bog as well, that's very true. Kind of hoping that I don't care about Murktide because we have a bigger Knight. Was there a Wasteland? No. Potentially could go for Bog and then sack the Lush, get back the Lush. Maybe that's another one. Like, I guess Choke is somewhat of an out. Could keep the Thoughtseize for the turn I want to cast something, but I really want to try to hit. Ale. Yikes. Did not expect Veil. Tough. 0-1. Yeah, definitely a matchup where I feel like you have to control the early game. Just the one, Jack. It was in the bin. The Lush. I've tried 2, but I find with 2 you do see it a lot more often in your hand, where obviously you really want to have that untapped mana source. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I do like the new 2 mana destroy target non-basic land. They search their library for a basic. And you can do it on yourself as well, so you can do like Flagstones, which is pretty sweet. The new whale as well looks pretty cool. Saga is pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy to keep this. Bog a little bit awkward, like these two could just be pretty feast or famine, but our mana base is looking decent. Well. I kind of hope they don't take the once. Take the Reclaimer thinking that's going to be the be all end all? No. I wonder if they are just mono black. They haven't played a land yet. So in this matchup, obviously like the ley lines. I don't mind the Thoughtseizes on the play either. Going down to 3. Once Upon a Time or Karakas would be sweet. They're the cards I'm looking for. I think in that case it's just the Bog this turn. I could Windswept into Surveil Land. But I think just turning off... Do I really care about the Griefs though? I don't. Which is what the Bog is stopping. So I might as well go for Windswept and then try to find a line where we can find a Karakas. I wonder if they're just blue-black or if they play show and tell on the board. Wow, they discarded 2 Reanimates. Interesting. Must have like another animate dead. Okay. Yeah, I think they would as well. I don't think it changes too much. Our boarding. Thoughtseize, ley lines, forces. Forces are mainly for animate dead, so they're kind of a maybe if there's cards that I do want to take out. A lot of the slow stuff I don't mind, like Teeg, Safekeeper. I don't find this a matchup for depths. Although it is a nice way just to try to win. Bowmasters, I don't mind seeing they're on Grizzle. Ooze, Liberator. Maybe the Fiends are a little bit slow, but it might be nice to have one. Rally is a little bit slow. It could just be take out the depths. And then I do like the Force of Vigors. Maybe not. Maybe we just try without. No Leyline. It's a decent hand, but there's no Leyline is pretty huge, so I'm pretty happy just to mulligan for that. We do find that, and although we don't have a great hand, we do still have a turn 2 Thalia, which isn't bad. And then time to find the green source for Night. We can't cast the Thoughtseize here, but I wonder if it's worth keeping both Leylines or bottoming one. I'm trying to think what they would play. Like, I know there's the 4 mana green card that deals with all enchantments. I guess just in case of Wear Tear, it's worth having both Leylines and then probably just bottom the Thoughtseize. Because turn 2 I'm probably just trying to play the Thalia. Keep bottom Thoughtseize. Play this. Play this. Play Flagstones. I don't want to show the Karakas just yet. Get rid of Entomb. This does keep them off a show and tell for one more turn, which is nice. But still scary, especially knowing about cards like yeah, just knowing about show and tell. They did miss a land drop though, that's pretty huge. This mana also means we're pretty far away from Grist. But we can show and tell in Grist, which is nice, with it being a creature. Archon's pretty good if they're playing Archon. I mean, even Atraxa just refreshing their hand without drawing any cards is pretty sweet. They can still animate our creatures as well. Hey Casey, very cool. A big happy second birthday to your daughter. Very, very cool. Hope you had a nice time with the family. I think Liberator being an out to animate dead is better than it potentially being a reanimate target. Because if it's in the bin, it's probably either through a grief or us using it. But I don't like being naked through Green Suns to not be able to hit animate dead. Alright, Carador. You got that? Them getting the Grist into play is pretty brutal, because the 1/1s are quite hard to get through. And Liberator is actually a little bit tough with this mana base, because if they get it into play, it's probably flipping, which means it's probably dealing with a Leyline. Swords is a pretty fantastic draw. Spider Space, welcome. How are you enjoying Modern at the moment, and what are you looking to play after MH3 is released? It's really sad to see Hammer off the table. They've only got 2 cards, which is pretty nice. And having the Outer Liberator with swords means they can trade with a leyline, but they lose probably the pedal as well, unless they find an extra land. All right. Nada was very sweet. Yeah, Nada looks cool. It's funny to see Shuko go from like $2 to $20. I think it's back down to like 15, but still. What do they need? I feel like they would be playing Voidwalker in their 75, but obviously it's not going to race this Thalia just yet. I know some versions play Bowmaster. Why is this deck called Maverick? There's a few myths, but I believe that the real answer is that Luis, who created the deck, his Magic Online username was Maverick with an @ sign for an A. So as he built the deck, that people just called it Maverick, named after him. Some people say it's named Maverick because it was pretty left field at the time, and it wasn't something that traditionally players set out to do in Legacy. But Ben's on the money. It's cool. I actually found Luis. I think he plays Pokemon now. Which is pretty cool. It's cool to see that he's still in the card sphere. Yes, Joe, a big thank you for that. I believe it goes live next Friday is when MH3 is released on MTGO. Unmask. Pitching Archon. Okay. It's pretty huge. Yeah. They're kind of forced into taking the night. This feels like a Magus the Moon, like 2-turn beats. I think I'm happy just to hold the Savannah here as well. Drawing 1 card a turn, I don't need to play it. I think it's better as an unknown. What's this? Molten Collapse. We'll return it. Okay, game 3. I think I'm pretty happy just running this back. Quick check. Yeah. A pretty fair hand. See what my opponent does. I think just because we do have 4 ley lines in the deck, it's really hard not to mulligan to the ley line to make our opponent have to have interaction with ley line plus also some amount of the combo. Has endurance, but of course this deck has, what, 4 grief, 4 unmask. Okay. This is nice because we actually have a really playable hand as well. So we're going to keep this. I think we do bottom the Liberator here because there is a world where we play the Leyline, they grief us, take the Liberator, and then get that into play, and then we don't really have a way to play around that other than Endurance. I think we keep the Endurance. Keep the Thalia. I'm not too sure yet if we want to go for a Bayou with the Windswept Heath or if we want to go for a Lush. Or even keep it for a Dryad Arbor. It's a pretty sweet draw. I honestly don't mind the Hierarch here. Quick think. Yeah. Wrath of the Skies, I believe, is the energy sweeper. White X. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy paid this way. That is pretty sweet. Just double land. Okay. That's actually really good. So now we get to hold up this, play Thalia, and then have access to Endurance as well. As a just in case. Which is pretty hard for my opponent on 2 mana. I was going to fetch for the Bayou now, but if we draw the Bayou, we can just keep this for Lush, which is nice. Ooze is pretty sweet. I'm having a good think. Bayou. Ooze. And then, yeah, still happy to hold up. I guess I could play the Noble here because we have the... Oh, no, I want to keep the Ooze open, so I wouldn't play the Noble. I'd play the Noble the following turn, potentially. Or still just have it for the Endurance in case of some crazy play from our opponent. But still, they're pretty close to just a show and tell. This definitely gives me show and tell vibes. I kind of hope it's Pyroclasm, Molten Collapse. Okay. That is fine. We'll eat that. They did get a blue source here, so we do have like Once Upon a Time here, obviously Wasteland. Forest. Okay. We'll just play the Forest because now we can hold up the Endurance. But show and tell here are a real threat. Archon. Okay, so here we get rid of probably just the Endurance. And then we get to keep the Ooze attacking with Exalted, which will be a 4/4 after we eat Endurance. But definitely not an easy point. We do have, 4 swords in the deck. We do have Green Suns for Grist still, which is pretty cool. That's a redraw. And still 4 mana for Green Suns. Ooh, okay, no. That does mean we can potentially Thoughtseize a creature out of their hand. Oh, but we can't eat it with Ooze because the Leyline. I think we attack first. And then going to 16 doesn't change the clock because it is 9 a turn anyway. Oof. I think it's the Magus because if we draw literally Grief, we want to be able to cast it. Yeah, definitely can't be sad about this game. We drew pretty well. We had a pretty nice 5. So here we float. And then we sack. And then we eat. This is something that trumped me as well. So Shuko triggers, Nadu triggers twice a turn per creature. I believe we are just dead here. Because we attack for 6. There's no real need for them to block. And then we just die in the background. Tough. But yeah, definitely good showing as well of how Leyline, obviously a great cut against Reanimator, but you also have to have a decent plan for show and tell. Usually by bringing in extra removal, like potentially the Dismembers being Path to Exiles. I'll definitely bring those in. But yeah. Oof. Emissary of Learning. Pretty happy with this hand. Acceleration, interaction, decent mana. Okay. Bob. Pretty happy here. So they can do the bauble trick. Honestly here I don't mind just Wasteland. Played against a lot of Delver players and a lot of Delver players who lead on a one-lander with a threat. They do have the bauble for an extra draw. But also with Delver moving a little bit towards Stifle in builds that I've played against, can really suck to get stifled. But typically it's tough to, you know, go behind on the board when they already have a creature in play. Oh, no flip. And no land? Interesting. I don't really want a swords just yet. Because we do have the endurance as a removal piece pretty much for the Delver. I really want to keep that swords for Murktide most likely. But to be fair, it would only be a 3/3 right now. I think if they spend their turn next turn to remove their Noble, then we just play Flagstones and swords the Delver. But the knight being a 4/4 with the fetch is pretty nice. Jack, what was the last deck you played in Modern? And how does that change with MH3? Still no flip. They find a land. I'm also in no rush here, so if they don't get rid of the Noble, I'm pretty happy just to play a land and pass back without trying to throw a 3-drop into Daze. Unholy Heat. Okay. That's pretty nice as well. Okay. So let's Swords around Daze and then play the Noble. If they force that, I feel like they would only have that as a threat. At least if they Daze this, they're going back a turn on Murktide. Yeah, more than happy. Well, they play just an island. I do want to fetch here. But just in case it is Stifle exactly, I'm just going to Endurance and Upkeep. Or if they tap it for a Brainstorm. Oh, I don't have Upkeep stop. Oh, no. Okay. Lucky. So they have 5 cards left. Force, pitching, force. Okay. So next turn it's probably to Scrubland into Night, playing around Daze. They do have Unholy Heat. They're very close to Unholy Heat being 6 damage. Reclaim is pretty nice. See if we can get Reclaimer into play as well. It's just a 1/2. But at this stage I'm pretty happy for a Bolt to go towards Reclaimer. Just because how naked we are to just a Murktide. Okay. At least here they can't Murktide and get rid of the Reclaimer. Which means we would have access to just going for Dark Depths. Not playing around Borrower, but playing around Wasteland. DRC. Ooh, that's it? Nice. Once. Okay. We're definitely hitting their graveyard. So that's 2 mana. We're probably attacking with the Knight. Or taking them off the Volk. I think we'll start with a once. If we find a Wasteland, that's pretty sweet. Okay. I definitely don't mind the Thalia. It's just to really tax them. Yeah, I like Thalia. And then we play Cradle. And then we have 1 mana, 3 mana. Now we get to go sack Flagstones. Reclaimer becomes a 3/4. Go and get the other Savannah. And then go and get Bog. And then trigger, I'm actually going to hold priority. Because we want to wasteland them first and then bog everything. I don't mind the dismembers. Obviously, not the greatest removal spell against Delver, but you take what you can get. It's probably a mixture of these 3. I don't mind a choke on the draw. I don't think I want the ley lines. Safekeeper I actually kind of like. Ooze, endurance, yeah. I think it's just these. We have a 2-lander, but against Delver on the draw, it's pretty rough mana to have. Like this is a really good example of where Lush can be a little bit awkward. This would otherwise be a Savannah, which honestly I probably wouldn't keep a 2-lander against Delver on the draw anyway, especially with a lot of 3-drops. So this is a Plains hand. Okay, it's actually a pretty sweet hand. We get to keep this, put back the Dryad Arbor. Keep a sword, keep a Flagstones. It's probably just Savannah here. And then we have ways to get basics if we need them. We have interaction. Yeah, I think these 2 lands making Knights 4/4s and the Wasteland making a Reclaimer a 3/4 in combination is pretty nice. And honestly, at this stage, I'm pretty happy just to kind of reset the game in a way with Wasteland. I can also wait a little bit to play the Reclaimer, so it's a 3/4. Here's a question. In this case, if I play Reclaimer, say it's a 3/4, if they Unholy Heat it, Unholy Heat goes to the graveyard before state-based actions are checked, but Delirium checks only on cast, so I assume that if their graveyard doesn't change and they play a Unholy Heat targeting Reclaimer, it'll only deal 2 damage. Is that correct? Unholy Heat doesn't see itself? It checks during the spell resolving. Delirium checks on resolution. Okay, so it would kill. Noble's pretty sweet. Get that basic. Google says it only does 2. Okay. Ah, that makes sense, yes. Once is pretty nice. I think here we're just going to play the Windswept, play Reclaimer, and then attack for 1. probably getting Lush at the end step. But then we don't have access to a black source outside of once, but I think that's fine. Because we're probably moving towards Bojuka Bog with the Reclaimer anyway. Bolt on the Hierarch. Okay. It feels like a Murktide. Bolt on the Hierarch. 1, 2, 3. Be a 6/6. Shot. Lush. Pretty happy to bin that. It is access to black, but currently we don't need that. Just in case of double days. Play the land. Swords Murktide. Nice. And then here I think we're just passing with the flagstones open. If they play a fetch and fetch, I think then we will go and get Bojuka Bog. Okay. Bolt and Delver. I believe these decks only typically play the one trop. Submerge is fine. That's fine. Go and get, I guess, Scrubland, just in case we draw Orcish Bowmasters. I guess we have the Bojuka Bog anyway. Sorry, the Bog. So I probably should have got another green source, just so we had a better chance of double spelling and also casting Endurance if needed. And that's exactly why. Start with once. Yeah, I think Savannah there was definitely the best bet. Okay. So I could look for Bowmaster here, and if we don't find it, then just play the Noble. Ooze is pretty interesting. So is Thalia somewhat. Hey 420, thank you for the sub, a huge thank you. Triz, welcome. It might just be, I think it's actually just the Ooze, and then we're just going to fetch and play the Noble off a Savannah. Ooze, as the kids say, has some real riz in this game. All right. Oh, what's this? Seek the Beast. Okay. What does it hit? Force and Bolt. All good. Nice. Apologies. Okay, so they have a Bolt and a Force in exile. I think here it's just play the Ooze and then pass. Dismember's nice with our current mana because we actually don't have to pay mana or pay life for it. Ooh, there's actually, okay, so there's actually only one creature in the bin. So potentially if they try to bolt the Ooze, we can dismember the Delver. Hey Sahar, welcome. Hope you're well. No attacks, interesting. Let's try to eat Noble. We didn't. Oh, now they're trying to heat. Oh, so now we try to kill and then eat in response. Eat Delver. Ooh, that's nice. Yes, yes, feel the ooze. Love it. Yeah, Dismember can be a little bit awkward as a removal spell if you're on the back foot, especially against a deck with Daze and Force, of course. Like 4 life is a lot. 4 life is typically 2 turns that you're kind of giving your opponent in terms of damage. Kind of feels like Thoughtseize against Burn. Like sometimes you're dealing with a card that's going to be dealing more than the 2 damage, but it's also putting your opponent 2 life ahead. But I don't mind the flexibility of Dismember. It is tough moving between like Dismember, which obviously doesn't hit some of the bigger threats in Legacy, Path, which you don't really want to use on a lot of the cheaper threats in Legacy, like a turn 1 Mum or Stoneforge, turn 2 out of D&T. Snuff Out is obviously a removal spell that you can't really side in against the like blue-black scam decks, which never feels great. So it's always tough trying to find like the right mix of removal in the graveyard, in the sideboard. That sounds pretty sweet. We have 3 ways of interacting on the board turn 1, plus pretty decent. You know what I'm talking about. Mana. It's probably just turn 1 Noble off a basic. That's pretty nice. If this is a Bolt deck, I'm pretty happy to try to play the Reclaimer as a 3/4. But Misty could be anything. I did enjoy the early access event. Thank you very much, Sahar. What did we play? We played like a BANT deck with Nadu. It was like BANT Depths. And then played green-black Turbo Depths with the new Eldrazi. Interesting. The Ponder shuffles. Let's fetch. I didn't really need to fetch. Yeah, sorry. I didn't even know what I'm doing this turn. So they've played a Ponder, they've shuffled. So it could be Delver looking for a threat. We have that covered by Swords. The Reclaimer I don't really want to play here. And Green Suns for 2 is a little bit open to removal. I think just in case it's a combo deck, I don't mind just going for Teeg here. It does stop Force on their part, potentially. And at worst, we can get rid of it with a Grist, if we find it. Brainstorm. Okay. Yeah, I think I don't mind Teeg. Just to have something against a non-fair deck. But I'm tipped towards saying this is going to be Delver. But the Teeg means if they try to Murktide next turn, they won't be able to counter the Swords, which is pretty huge. And we still attack for 3. like an Ancient Tomb or a City Traders obviously gives away that they're maybe show and tell instead. Ponder. Ponder shuffle straight away. So we really want to find Wasteland. Oh, the Bolt. Okay. That makes me think it's going to be Delver. This is fine. Thalia is actually pretty sweet. We get to go land, play Thalia around days, and then just play Reclaimer. This also means if they don't have another land and they play Murktide, Thalia does a similar thing with Force where they can't actually cast it. Probably just Windswept for Lush and passing here. If they fetch end step to go and get potentially Thundering Falls, we then can Swords in response. I think here I'm happy to try to Sword. Because if they try to Brainstorm, they can't Force as well. But they got rid of the Teeg, so I assume they have a Force. Wow. Okay. Didn't expect that. DRC is going to be fine. Get rid of Scrub. And honestly here, I think we just get Flagstones. Not really in a rush for anything else, and this makes this Wasteland pretty terrible as well. How are we going to do this? I think we can do it like this. Try to find a Wasteland ourselves. No, but we do find a Bowmaster, which is pretty nice. And then we can, oh, the Scrubland's in the bin, so we can't find the Scrubland off the Flagstones. But that's fine. There was a thought of going towards Wasteland ourselves for the Hedgemaids, but I think if we get Wasteland tapped, they Wasteland us, but then we can get it back with the Rallier, but we wouldn't be playing around days because we'd need to use 2 mana for the Reclaimer to turn on Rallier. Okay. Tapping off the Wasteland's pretty huge because it means that unless they have a Wasteland, another Wasteland, they can't actually do a whole lot. To turn off this Bowmaster. Find a fetch. Which isn't a Wasteland. Oh, this is huge as well, because although they will get Delirium here, we get to fetch for a land plus bog them, don't take the full amount, and then just Bowmaster with Thalia backup to take out a Dragon Ridge Channeler. So we're going to have a really nice turn here. Sadly, we can't like block and then bog. But yeah, Thalia here with them tapping out just gives us so much resilience. So we get, oh, okay, so we get to go Lush. We then get to look at we might be able to actually put a creature in the bin here that we might want to get back with the Rallier. So I'm actually going to put this in the graveyard. And then go and get Bojuka Bog. Bog them. Now we really want some sort of fetch land, maybe a wasteland off the top. A land that goes to the bin would be ace. No. Okay, so what do we have here? We have one black and one white for Bowmaster. Take out a DRC. And then we have 2 mana left over with the Reclaimer. So I think he would play the Fiend Artisan, which is going to be pretty big itself. It's a 3/3, not too bad. And then I think we're just holding up Reclaimer here and attacking with the Thalia with Exalted. Now the awkward thing for them is potentially a cantrip actually kills their DRC. This Fiend Artisan with the Orc token as well is really nice. That allows us to get the other Bowmaster to take out this DRC. I don't mind getting a Wasteland, because at least if they Wasteland our Wasteland now to keep them on the green source, it means that we have the Wasteland to get back with the Renegade Rallier. Oh, they're actually going to allow us to have the Wasteland. Wow. Okay, how do we want to start this? I think we start with 1, 2, 3. Quick look. We don't actually need black mana this turn. So I could tap like this. That still gives us the access to endurance potentially. Get another Bowmasters. I don't believe cards are in chests just yet. They're gonna seek the beast? Okay. What do they hit? Ponder Misty. Nice. They have 2 mana up. I don't mind just attacking with Thalia. I do like taking them off Hedge Maze here and then just holding up Reclaimer. Also now having Fiend Artisan for Grist means we have a nice out to Murktide. One kind of cool thing as well is that we can sacrifice a Orcish Bowmaster to Fiend Artisan, and then interesting that they showed the trop, so they do play more than one green source. It's good to know. Again, dismembers one choke. Out, Teeg, Ouphe, Safekeeper. Liberator I could see coming out and Safekeeper coming in. Safekeeper is just a little bit tough because mana is such a good resource that we don't typically have a lot to throw around. But if we do want to keep the depths in, it's always nice to have a Safekeeper just in case. The second choke I don't mind on the play, of course. On the draw, with them playing a creature first, can be a little bit tough. 3 lands, 4 spells, with 1 spell being a removal spell is definitely where I want to be. Two lands, but with Swords and Bowmaster, I'm pretty happy to keep this. It's a really nice hand. We do only have the 1 white source currently with Verdant, but we'll see how that plays out. Another land off the top would be great. That's not a land, but that's pretty close to it. I also don't feel like I'm in a position where I can fetch a basic. I just have to go hard on jewels. Like the basic forest, because of how many outs they have to Noble, is just a little bit too rough. But typically days on Noble means they have a wasteland here for the Bayou. Okay. Interesting. What other threat? If we draw a land here, we don't, but that's fine. I do like going Scrubland, so we have double black for the Bowmaster. Swords around days, because that's what we really care about. We know they have a force, but that's fine. Pitching the days, and now we play out a Noble. That's fine. The Bolt not going to face is pretty huge as well when they already have a tapped or a flipped Delver. They have 1 card left. So I think if we draw a land, it's just probably Green Suns for... Okay, now they have no cards. So now we're actually in a great position if we draw a land here. We don't, but that's fine, because we just go Bowmaster, take out the DRC. And now if we do draw land, we have Grist, tick down on the token, get rid of the Delver. Ooh, they might be able to save it here. But they don't. Nice. Actually, it would be pretty hard for them to save it. Pretty nice draw. Start with Swords. They have 1 card left. Go with Noble. And then attack with just the Orc. Now we have Grist next turn, which is really nice against a Murktide, which is probably their best draw off the top. Seek the Beast would be pretty good for them as well. Interesting. DRC's fine. One card left. So now we have some options. We're at 10. I like the thought of Swords DRC into Thalia. It doesn't tax the Grist next turn, which is nice, but taxes them if they tap out for some reason. So I think we start with attacking. Yeah, there's no world if we sword the DRC and have a brainstorm. I don't think they brainstorm in response. Instant land creature. Yeah, because brainstorm would still kill a DRC. So there's no point of trying to swords now to try to get extra counters on the orc. And then we're just keeping the board clean. Nice. Two cards. One is a wasteland. It's fine. We can still go for Green Suns for Dryad Arbor next turn at worst, just to keep mana flowing. Nice. Attack for 4. One, two. Double check. No Dryad in the bin. Nice. Now we have Grist back online. Dismember's not too bad. We take 2 life. This does grow the orc. Hit them. Green Suns, interesting. I think here it's just going to be play the Grist. Tick up the Grist. We hit once, we attack for 4. And I don't want to say this is a lock, but with our opponent drawing a card here potentially off the bauble, pings them to 7. Even if they draw a Murktide, we have the Grist. It would have to be some sort of sweeper, but I haven't seen too many sweepers out of Delver recently. Nice. Always cool to get up against Delver back to back, because it can be really challenging. I think that we drew pretty hot with removal, but it can be really tough when they have, like, even with our start, if they have, obviously there were days for the Noble Hierarch, but if they follow that up with Wasteland, it's an entirely different game. But hey, a huge thank you for all of you for coming in, tuning in. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me there. YouTube, Discord. I do giveaways each month now as part of the MTGO Content Creator Program, where you can win 120 play points, which is cool. I believe that's a league and a bit. So it's always nice to, yeah, give back a little bit. But yeah, it would be nice to have something against BANT. BANT can be pretty tough. especially when they do have Murktides and St. Catherine's, just really good threats. I don't mind the versions which used to only play like Uro, a lot easier to handle. But yeah, ban, especially with the basics as well. Typically a great way to go after some of these 3 to 5 color decks is their mana base, but they can be pretty hard. And it's going to be Ben for our nice one. I believe they are also a Maverick player, but you never know. Never know. Pretty happy to keep this. Once upon a time, we have a way to grow as well. Decent mana. Probably on some Loam variant. Okay. Interesting. So currently we need the Verdant for the Bowmaster. Let's start with once and hopefully find a Mana Dork. Reclaim is pretty strong. So let's go Reclaimer and just go Savannah Reclaimer. Okay. Punfire. Nice. I probably don't mind just bogging here. That's really cool. So Ben was actually watching the stream and he's just gone, I'm on 4-color Loam since I know what you're on. Which I think is really nice. Yeah, I'm just going to bog that Punishing Fire away and then probably just go for a Dryad Arbor. Just keep my mana going and also somewhat threat on board. But yeah, 4-color is always an interesting matchup. I find their removal can be really solid, but if you have the patience to play around it, then you can obviously get going. Knight. Okay, that's a pretty good follow-up. I think here I obviously like Knight online, so they want to play Reclaimer and also Knight. Sorry, Safekeeper and Knight. Just to make sure we can protect it and get rid of this Saga before it gets too good. But the Mox keeps the Construct from being a 1-1, which Bowmaster would be able to deal with. So I'm not too sure what the purpose of the Orc here is for us and what it will be going after. Punishing Fire. Pretty happy to save this because they can go and get Grove, getting rid of the Dryad Arbor. I think, yeah, because then if we don't, then they can just Grove into Punishing Fire the Knight. I hope they fetch as well before they want to make the token, or at worst, I guess they have the Knight as well, so it's not too bad. But potentially if they like go to make the token and fetch a response, we can then get Wasteland the Saga before they have the mana, but they have the Knight to find that as well. Ooh, is this Dismember? Wow. Okay. Honestly pretty happy to save it again, which is pretty aggressive, but if we put Bog in the bin, it turns on Green Suns for Renegade Rallier, which is cool. They're on 0 cards now. They won't get a token off the Saga, which is pretty huge. But I do understand this as well. Like, the longer the game goes, the worse Safekeeper becomes if you don't have just a good out to it. Thalia isn't that great here. I kind of want to hit the Punishing Fire, but I know that they can go and find Grove. So I think here I'm just going to pass. Oh, they fetch. I allow this because it's the knight that I really care about. Now it's tough because I've paused so much that I think we should just make a move here. One thing I do have to worry about is Bojuka Bog and Punishing Fire together. So I assume here we see Grove. Get back the Punishing Fire. And then if they do try to save anything, then it's pretty tough. They didn't Punishing Fire there, which is really interesting. I thought they might have fired at end step to make me sacrifice something or get rid of this. And then they have return Punishing Fire the knight, and then go and get Bojuka Bog to kill my knight. I think we just have to allow this, sadly. And then I think it's just hold up Bowmaster and fetch for Surveil Land. Probably another knight. Could be ram it up and just get Wasteland. Grist. Okay. That's not too bad, as now we have the Bowmaster to get rid of the insect. So if we can surveil a removal spell here, I'll be very happy. Like a sword? That can go in the graveyard. Bowmaster hits the token. Ooh. Okay, that's playing to our outs. I could go after the Grist, but I like going after the Knight here. Hopefully no Sajiri step. I assume here they're going for Saga. It does still tap the Knight, so we get to deal with the... Ooh, that's nice. We still attack the Grist. Make a 1/1. They have Punishing Fire with Return and Maze. I wonder if that is Punishing Fire the Grist right now. Oh, they drew Loam. Yikes. I think that's just a little bit too hard of a lock. I don't like Leyline, but I think we just have to play the Leylines. Same with Chokes, Dismembers, and then take out a lot of the fair stuff. I don't like Safekeeper, a little bit too easy. I'm actually going to take out the Depths as well, and that's going to be us, I think. Leyline's tricky though, because if it's not in your opening, then you really have to consider how good your hand is without it, knowing that you have up to 4 to draw. Like, this hand is a little bit rough on mana. The once has to find a green source. But I'm pretty happy to mulligan this. Okay, a little bit better. We get to keep this bottom, the Lush, which we can find. Play the Leyline. Cast the once. It's probably just Reclaimer here. Alpha basic. Just to make sure we have that mana around. Forest. Okay. And there's like dead draw number 1, which definitely is part of the Leyline process. Like, we don't have a great way to discard it for any sort of value. Not great. Do have Liberator, which I don't want to trade with the Moxen just yet, just because of how good Saga is. Maybe I'll make them try to have to cast something. Probably consideration to use the Liberator. Yes. The tough part is I kind of want to get the Surveil land here, but I also want black mana, which is tough. Hey, Spyman, welcome. I think just because of like Grist on my own Grist is good enough that, yeah. Guess we get to attack with Exalted potentially. But here they can go and maybe get Dryad Arbor and trade that with Knight. I think if they sack for Saga here, we just hit the Saga. Yeah. I think it's just a Bayou. But now they do have end of draw step. Get a Saga and then make a clue. I'll make a token. Oof. Dryad Arbor. Yeah. That's going to be a little bit tough to get there against Loam. Like, potentially having a card that's a bit better, like maybe Endurances in the board would be better suited for a Loam matchup. So we don't have just like the dead card of Leyline, because it's definitely a matchup where you don't want to have dead draws. So that's definitely tough. Yeah, I think that Loam definitely punishes the like lower creature decks. Especially with Punishing Fire, like trying to keep up with Punishing Fire without having a great way to remove it is just, yeah, not great. Like potentially you could rely on like dealing with little creatures and then play a Fiend Artisan, but you just have so much removal that relying on Fiend Artisan itself is just a bit tough. But beat Delver, which is always nice, and I think we should. But yeah, decks like BANT and Full Color just a bit more challenging to face. Especially with boarding, I find. Especially this deck with a lot more haymakers in things like Leyline. The Endurances would have been cool to go around there. But hey, that's me. A huge thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. Pretty happy overall. Like, I think beat the decks we wanted to beat, which is always nice. I did like having the Scrubland, especially as a black source you can grab off Flagstones. That's nice. Didn't really see Safekeeper. Obviously against Loam it wasn't great. Really need to like keep your mana flowing. And I think if I'm playing Safekeeper, I'm playing Ramanap in this list, because I think that just goes hand in hand, especially with Flagstones. But otherwise it was pretty sweet. Nice, Ben. Yeah, it was really cool. I'm gonna see who else is streaming. Mr. Lee is playing some... Oh, at least doing a set review for Eldrazi, which is pretty cool. So enjoy that. Enjoy your weekends. This will be up on YouTube later this week. But yeah, thank you all very much. Catch you next time.